I'm on the line right now with Matt Rehwoldt, better known as Aiden English. And I feel like maybe you should do an intro for me because you're going to do a much better job at it. You're much better on the mic than me.
um, as far as what do you want me to say? I mean, uh, I am who I am. I'm no longer no, I'll always be the drama king. That's the damn thing. But yeah, now I'm doing different stuff.
One of those things is wrestling with whiskey. You've had a YouTube channel has been active for about a year now. How'd you really get started in the hobby? This interest, or I don't know what the proper term is. Are you an aficionado or?
Oh God, I don't like that. People use connoisseur or expert and all this stuff, and I don't know. I throw it all by the wayside because I'm just a fan, man. The best word I've come across is enthusiast. I'm a whiskey enthusiast. Yeah, I don't know. It really kind of snuck up on me. It all literally just started as an attempt to. I wanted to drink like an adult. I was over pounding shots and partying of like the college years and things like that. And I never enjoyed. Let's put it this way: I never enjoyed alcohol. It was just a means to an end, right? It was just a way to get loose for a party and just like it is for a lot of young people. And so I'd always seen my dad, who was a big Scotch drinker, just enjoying his Scotch with one ice cube or neat. And I wanted to drink like an adult. And so I got a book literally on how to drink, and just I treated it like a workout and just sat there each and every night with a soda and chased it until I didn't need to chase it anymore. And then fell down this whole rabbit hole of collecting and learning about all the different companies and everything. It's almost like any other like niche hobby out there. There's just a whole world that you never expected to find.
The most recent one I watched was the starter collection, the 5 different bottles. And one thing that kind of caught my interest, because I've had the problem myself, is it's kind of hard to start a collection, especially like if you like hard alcohol or wine. So, I mean, are you looking at it as stuff that would have helped you when you first started drinking? Or is this more or less, here's what you want somebody else to kind of discover whiskey too?
Yeah, so like for me, like in my page, primarily my biggest thing that I've always is bourbon, which is an American style of whiskey, and so I focus mainly on that. And the 5 I picked were just something. If you're gonna kind of get, if you've decided, hey, yeah, this is something I want to get into. I see everybody maybe posting about this or see what I'm posting about it, and you seem like you're really into it. What's a good way to expand my palate is kind of the question I'm asking my head. And I'm going to give people a variety of flavors, a variety of like mash bills, which are the ingredients, a variety of producers or distillers to kind of show you the breadth of what's out there at a starter level. Because this is another hobby that can get very expensive. Some of these bottles are, especially right now, bourbon and American whiskey is very like in vogue. It's very trendy. So I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of dollars for certain bottles. So I want to keep it on the inexpensive end, very easy to find, that are on like, I see these all on grocery store shelves. You don't even have to go to the liquor store for some of them. And just a great, easy, cheap, and accessible way to get into broadening your horizons in the whole bourbon world.
And especially now, you kind of have access to people where people are doing like social happy hours, the Zoom happy hours. Like I've had my friends be like, oh, let's get together and play cards. And this kind of seems to lend to it. Is that something you'd maybe want to do on a larger scale? And maybe
I mean, potentially. Yeah, something like that. And it could be cool. I'm actually doing it because I did just start a Patreon related to the whiskey stuff. I do extra articles and extra video content and stuff like that. And one of the things I'm going to start doing is like a monthly like virtual happy hour with the patrons and stuff like that. That's part of it. We'll just get on a Zoom call because I know I've been on Zoom and just kind of catch up with everyone, gonna get to connect with everybody.
How far along is that? Is that just like you're starting out the Patreon page? Or
that literally just, I launched that on June 1st.
You spent quite a bit of time in WWE. You were released in April, and I mean, I want to say there was a lot of meat left on the bone, if that's putting it correctly. You know, you were doing commentary, but the Rusev Day storyline, it really felt like a missed opportunity. Are you still like looking to explore that side of wrestling as an in-ring performer, or are you trying to like create something for yourself? Like
I mean, the answer, I mean, it's all of the above, honestly. When I went into, and I agree, I think if you're a ambitious person, you always feel like there's meat left on the bone in any endeavor you do. I truly believe that, because you should always want to be doing more and more. And so, yeah, of course. And when I went to do the commentary thing, it wasn't, and something I always like to illustrate, it wasn't some like demotion or anything. It was offered to me. It was not forced upon me. And you know what, I wanted to try something new and different, because at the time I didn't have a whole lot going on with television stuff. So I'm like, yeah, let me dive in. I loved it a lot more than I thought. But there's so much that I want to do. Like, I don't like limiting myself. I pride myself on being a jack of all trades, master of a lot of different hats and everything like that. So, but I whenever I did it, and this was my point I was trying to make, whenever I started doing that, I had always said, I have not had my last match. This isn't some, hey, I'm done, I'm retiring, going to the side. I always felt like whether it was a short run or something, or whether it was back to full time, I had plenty more, just like you said, to give in the ring. Absolutely.
when this kind of all went down, one of the first people I spoke with was Mike Bennett, who was also released with you. And my question was, can there be a wrestling free agency period? Because we really didn't know who's going to be running what, you know, really what the state of wrestling was. Do you feel like 2-3 months later that, not to say that, you know, hey, I'm getting bookings, but do you feel like it's a little more optimistic to think that there's more opportunities out there for you as an in-ring performer?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was never worried about like the opportunities being there eventually in general. Like, like I said, I think I've done enough to show people a lot of the things I can do, and then there's still more to come. It was just more about, kind of like what you said, just whether people are able to book anything as far as shows, as far as conventions, as far as anything goes. That's the big question mark in the air. Once those things are able to happen, I have zero doubt about being able to work as a wrestler or as anything. So it's just a matter of where and when that happens, and that's both internationally, domestically, because everyone has different rules and stuff depending on where they're promoting or living and stuff like that. So always I've been in touch, obviously, with promoters of all over the place, I mean, but it's all right now. It's just we'll reach out when we know when we can, run shows and things like that.
I saw you deny it earlier, and the first thing I caught was the Impact promo. There was ice in the whiskey glass, so you already said it's not you, but I will ask.
I know. I probably should have let people dive into that a little bit more, but I couldn't. The whiskey man in me had to.
I can't do that either, so that's kind of why I was like, no. I was like, I'll ask you this way: is it flattering that people jumped immediately to that conclusion that it could?
Yeah. No, it kind of is, because I'm like, well, and I look, and it's actually a very cool promo, and like you see almost little aspects of almost everybody who was part of that wave of releases and everything. And so, like, I don't know who made it and everything, but I would like to think maybe that was their potential little throw towards me. I don't know, but I do get a kick out of the fact that this wrestling with whiskey thing has become known enough, both amongst whiskey fans stuff, but also amongst the wrestling fans, that when something like that pops up, that's kind of the immediate reaction. So I get a kick out of that.
Gonna be like asking for 3 fingers neat and no ice, so they're gonna see this. We already talked about, you had the Drama King character. You had not really sure how to put your alliance with Rusev, but I don't want to say buddy comedy.
I don't hate that though. You know what I mean? Like, I don't hate that description, because I mean, it was too fun, and you really got to see different sides of us, and it was kind of an oddball pairing on paper, very oddball. And we got to be goofs, but we got to have fun. We got to have these great matches. So like, oddball comedy or buddy cop comedy. I don't hate that analogy.
You had a lot of range as an on-air character, comedy and then drama king, the vaudevillians. You could play a bunch of different roles. But is there a character that you wanted to tap into but didn't really get a chance to put it on TV for one reason or another?
Sure. Yeah, I think and for me, I think it was getting a chance to play, and I was really hoping to at the end of the Rusev Day thing, and both of us really didn't want it to end, but hey, if it's going to, like many alliances and teams often do, I was like, well, this is finally a chance to I did want to show that more serious side. I did want to show that more, kind of evolve that into a little bit more of a dark and twisted side of Aiden English, maybe something a little bit more threatening, if you will. So, and I had a lot of ideas for that, especially post Rusev Day. And so that is one thing I really, really would have loved to at least been able to explore. I love having fun, and like there's fun, there's money and funny, like is people like New Day and stuff, and being creative and being showman. There's big success in that, but I did want to show that a little bit of more of that threatening side.
Yeah, and more to that last point, I think now you have more personal control over your character, and I think people have what's the right way to say this? There's a stigma against comedy wrestling, especially in certain promotions, where like a guy like a Colt Cabana or different names, like you can really make it something where it's not just like you're getting jobbed out or I always, and I'm apologizing for kind of ranting again, but I always relate it to like parity in the NFL, where like any team can win on any given Sunday, and I really feel like wrestlers should be that too, where you can be funny, but once the bell rings, like here you go. So I mean, do you see that? Like, do you want to see more of that? Because you played a comedic character, but then, I mean, you and Rusev kind of did that, but it maybe seemed like the exception, not the rule.
Yeah, I think more often than not that is the case. But I want to see that more. And I not to be a broken record, but I think New Day is like the group that I got to work with a ton, and is a great exception to that rule. But and it takes is the talent and the opportunity to show that you give them. There's so often the character is built, and they don't often get the time in ring and everything to expand upon that. And sometimes it takes a lot of work to get that. Like you have to really work, whether it's on live events or hustling backstage and everything like that. Just give us a little bit more time. Let us showcase these skills a little bit more. We're going to do all this wild, crazy stuff that's that's entertaining, but just let us get a little bit more here. And that was often the struggle. So that's something I know Rusev and I always were trying to do in our tag team matches and stuff like that when we could. So yeah, absolutely. I think that should be seen more often. I would love to see that more often.
The Ascension, the Vaudevillians, Lucha House Party, the earlier incarnation, like it really seemed like, NXT was about finding what works, and then they, Simon got released, so that was a different situation. But do you feel like, now they're, especially with people with NXT on USA, like, do you feel like, there's more investment in characters and gimmicks early on where, like you guys were put together because somebody saw something similar in you, and like the Rosebuds worked because you got time to test it out? Do you feel like you're seeing more early investment in characters, and that's why you're not seeing so many tag team breakups?
Potentially. And I think there obviously, it goes without saying, there obviously is incredible investment early on now. But NXT has the fact that you just said, it's on USA Network 2 hours every. I remember when we were excited about the 1 hour on the WWE Network we were going to start getting every week. Like it is exploded. So the back and forth with that is, though, alluding to what you said too, though, is before NXT, even when it was growing, it was still a chance to kind of try things out And now it's a more of an established brand. They still have a little bit more room probably to experiment. And with the growing work of the Performance Center and some of the events they do, there is still room to kind of figure things out before television. But now, I mean, it's its own thing. It's got all of that production. It has the same level as Raw and SmackDown, essentially. So it's there's a lot more, like you said, investment from day one. And I think it's incredibly noticeable now.
Besides being a whiskey enthusiast, do you have any other outside interests going on right now? Like, busy in quarantine?
Yeah, right. Especially because I'm in Chicago, and so we've been very tightly locked down and everything in the past few months. So yeah, I've been trying to read more and stuff like that. But the whiskey thing, I've just dove into that, making content for that, expanding that. I'm kind of reconnecting with thanks to guys like Xavier Woods and stuff like that, jumping on like streaming. I've got a Twitch thing under Drama King Matt, and streaming on YouTube under Drama King Matt as well. And so which is funny because like I've performed at WrestleMania and I've been on all these shows, but sometimes you jump into these games with these people who are very, very good. These Call of Duty players are unreal. And so like, all of a sudden I become like this introverted little kid again. And I'm like, holy crap, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh my God, this is so scary. Meanwhile, a year and a half ago, I was in front of 60,000 people at WrestleMania with no problem. But so that's kind of a fun, weird, exciting little thing that I'm doing too. So between that and the whiskey stuff, it's making a lot of content. I'm jumping into the whole kind of internet world of that.
I'll get you out on this. I've been doing a feature called The Watch List. And when this kind of all started, people were worried that we're not going to have content. We're not going to have wrestling to watch. So are there any matches that maybe you've watched recently from a fan's perspective, or ones from your own career that you think fans would have a new appreciation for right now?
I have, because I've been going back over some of my stuff because I was just trying to gather highlights and just gather almost inspiration from the stuff I've done. It's been a while since I wrestled. As far as stuff for me, the matches I'd really like people to seek out there was one Clash of Champions, I believe 2017, which is a four-way tag match with Rusev and I, Usos, New Day, and Gable and Benjamin, which I was so, so proud of because that match was chaotic as hell. Because it was the first time we'd ever done a fatal four-way tag match with all four members in at one time, tagging in and out of each other. Before, it was always just two guys in the ring, and that we decided to try an experiment and do it like with all four. So 4 guys in, 4 guys out. It was a ton of chaos, but I'm incredibly proud of what we did with that match. I'm incredibly proud of the first NXT Tag Team title win that Simon and I had at Brooklyn in 2015. Those are the ones that always jump out for me as far as like my career. I haven't been watching a ton of wrestling on my own, I'll be honest, since everything happened. I've been kind of giving myself a little bit of a break from it just because when it's your life for so long, it's nice. I always stay in touch, but it's nice to get a little bit of distance. The other thing I would do, which I learned from my year on commentary, is go back, and if you haven't, you can honestly pick anyone, but go back and watch 205 Live. And there's several matches over the last year, at least, that are just awesome. Go back to, when was it? 2019 or 2018, and watch some of the Buddy Murphy, Mustafa Ali matches. Holy crap. This past year, Jack Gallagher and Chad Gable had 2 awesome matches. Oni Lorcan and Arya Daivari had a not Falls Count Anywhere, but Anything Goes match earlier this year. It's just, there's so much good stuff on there that I think a lot of people did not see, and that I had the privilege to call and see up close, that I was incredibly proud to do. So that would be my thing. Go back, and if you haven't discovered 205 Live, do yourself a favor.
All right. Matt Rehwoldt, thank you very much for your time. Fans can check you out, Wrestling with Whiskey, on YouTube. Where else can they follow you?
Drama King Matt is both on Twitter, Instagram, as well as Twitch, and a separate YouTube channel for streaming stuff, all under Drama King Matt. And then, Wrestling with Whiskey on Twitter and Instagram.
Have a good day, man. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.